Hey guys, my name is Raw Skye and this is Toni from Rawlicious You, and we are here. We're about to talk about the Phuket Retreat 2026. This is actually podcast 7. We're going to talk about how the body heals when you slow down, and we are both raw foodists. Hey Toni.
Hello, thank you for having me and doing these calls every Tuesday. That is what we're going to start doing right up until April. We're aiming for that, aren't we? We may as well. These are not just about the retreat, but it's also about other topics. And if you've got questions or questions later you can't get on, then feel free to ask. So it's a really great opportunity to get on the calls or just to ask questions I did have a few questions that some asked that aren't going to be on the call, the live, so that we can answer. So any questions about our lifestyles, Thailand, the retreat, and today's our last, we're actually going to, because of time zones and things, we're going to do the last day today. So jump on before it goes up $500 for the retreat. Come on, we've got so many that's already signed up, and it's going to be a small 10 intimate group, so definitely get in. The information's in the link description box below, isn't it? And if you've got any questions about it, do ask us. But we're super excited to spend time with you guys, and this is an opportunity for you to get to know us and ask questions.
You said it so well, and it's like, so you can save $500 right now. So guys, if you are thinking about it, you want to do it, it'll be such an amazing opportunity. And we were just talking before, because the topic today is how the body heals when we slow down. But I was really emphasizing how much you can actually get from like sound healing, from beach walks, from us, speaking at workshops each day when you're eating raw foods. It's like you're vibrating at such a high level that these things just seem to amplify it. And that's what you get to do.
Yeah. We want to dive deep into that as well, just because I think we don't realize until you experience it combined with the raw foods and doing these activities that really enrich our soul. All of these are part of the lifestyle we live. And I do feel, like you shared, is the amplification of anything that you experience. You're just more present and conscious. But we're going to go deeper into this. But the theme is the slowing down part, because I do feel 100% when I slow down, it doesn't mean you stop everything. It's just stopping the noise or slowing the noise, stopping the distractions. You start to become more in aligned and more called to what our bodies are designed to eat and things that we are designed to have. So like earlier nights and exercise and doing healthier things that we know are going to serve us and less stress. So when we slow down, we can really reconnect and really strip away what isn't serving us. And that's where we start to see, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Because most people I would say are on autopilot. There's many things in our lives, just naturally we're just doing things without real thought and consciousness and slowing down. And that what's helped me, not just the foods, but actually the reflection, little rituals that I do. And we shared those a few weeks ago. Check that. I think it was podcast 4, where we shared about rituals. It says in the title about rituals, but rituals are really going to help you reconnect. And for me, it was the reflection in the evening. How did I feel, and how did the food feel? Getting more of that awareness, not too rigid, but just getting that awareness each day and how they're making you feel. So for me, I just realized I'm rushing around all the time, like my life, and still there are periods where I'm just like in this constant high anxiety, and I'm like, take a breath. It was like I was rushing around yesterday, and there was nothing to rush. I had plenty of time, but my body has naturally gone into, and I'm so glad I'm conscious of it, because I've lived most of my life, and probably many of you have, and you, Skye, we're just rushing. We're just constantly having to be somewhere and do something. And then you start to realize, it's just become autopilot, and why am I even doing it when I've got plenty of time and I've stripped away so much unnecessary things that I'm like, wow, just Even most of my time in my conversations that I'm having with friends, once we've got that excitement, like Skye, when we first chat, we're like, and even on this call, like, excited. I'm excited. But then that breath comes in and you really start to go, wow, let's be just here and present and enjoy this moment. And when I bring that in, I'm like, when I was driving yesterday, the rushing, I was like, just breathe. I was sat in traffic, and normally I'm angry at traffic, and I was just like, just breathe. This is an opportunity to look around my surroundings and just actually start looking at what I haven't seen before and seeing with a new lens. And that didn't come about when I'm rushing around and trying to be somewhere and not enjoying the journey, as cliche it is. Even your little journeys to and from work and from events or whatever you're doing, just having that breath, that moment to just be here.
Yeah, because otherwise you're always like hyper focused on some sort of destination. And when you get to what you think is your destination, your mind jumps to where it's going next. And this just keeps repeating until you realize you're not present. You're never present in the moment. And you know what you brought up was something interesting, because I do talk to a lot of people who the thing that made the biggest impact isn't necessarily always food, or it is food and something else. For me, it was definitely, first off, the raw foods, but then the grounding and being in nature most of the time just completely stilled me. A lot of salt water, bare feet, and being outdoors with the raw food was like so vital. A lot of people have raw foods and they're like, you know, and I did enemas, or I did raw food and I did yoga, or I did raw food and I did sound healing. Meditation is a huge one. What was it for you, Toni? Like, what's your go-to mind stiller? Because mine is still nature. Well, raw food is there fundamentally, but nature just halts the brakes for me.
It's a number of things. Like, I pick and choose depending on what I'm able to do if I can't go out in nature at that time. So like if I'm feeling tense on a call, or, you know, something I have to stay at home with, then I just focus on my breath. I think that's the biggest one for me is, am I breathing? Am I deep breathing and just being here and not thinking about the future and the past? I'm just here. So that was being a really big game changer, and just my breathing, not thinking about, breathe in for 3, out for 3. It's just slow breathing, just taking those deep, because when we do that and really inhale, it really brings me here and brings this presence. It's a really, for me, this is the quickest thing for me. But yeah, grounding barefoot at the ocean, at the beach is fun. It's magic. Every day, most days I go to the beach, so I experience it. When I miss a day, I do feel it. You know, I can't wait to get back. So meditation's big for me as well. That when I went and did the juice, my first 40-day juice cleanse, that would say was my key in that experience of really just enjoying the juices and the way it was making me feel in my body and the cravings that were coming up. Meditation was not always trying to stop the thoughts. I had guided meditations, but sometimes it was just sitting and not doing anything and just listening, observing. And sometimes I would focus on something, but sometimes I would just listen to what my mind is coming up with, and I'll be like, same. And you start to see your same regurgitated thoughts and beliefs. And that's when I started I love Aaron Apke's. He talks about there's the 3 types of ego, or 3, what does he name them? It's about reframing these beliefs, dequalifying them. And that really helps me see what my regurgitated thoughts were consistently coming up. And you know, where you're having, I mean, they used to say it's like 350,000 thoughts every single day coming through, but we repeat the same actions, you know, because when I went into the law of attraction, I heard about the reticular activating system, which filters when it's coming through the conscious. It filters because there's so much information. And as we talked about, this is why slowing down is so important. We'll talk more about this. We're so bombarded with especially when you're living in the cities and we've got the internet now, there's a lot coming at us, and it's overwhelming, especially if you're a sensitive soul or you've been away. Like you said, you had some time when you go to go and have time off, just off all the noise. You come back and you're extra like, oh God, it's a little overstimulating. So when I realized, wow, a lot of things are it's over empowering, I come back in. I can't remember where I was going with that, but the beginning part, remind me, Skye. I can't remember where I was going with it. But
we're talking about all of those things that we do each day that can slow the mind versus.
So the reticular activator system. So so what your brain actually does is filter, which is it's a good thing to have. It's a part of our human. We're very lucky to have this. The consciousness of that, able to reason and to take in, and the brain naturally will filter what comes through. But what you will see is if the patterns, the habits will just consist always. So you have to, we have to get the presence to know that these are the same thoughts that's being carried on for years, even decades. So when we see that, we can start to change. If we really have that awareness, we will already naturally, when you have that awareness, you can start to shift what is said, why we're doing those things, and question it and dequalify it. Like Aaron Abke would say, is dequalifying those thoughts that aren't going to lead us on a path of enrichment and nourishment.
Yeah. So when it comes to the brain and to the neural pathways. So you've got to remember is by the time you get to say, when I changed my entire life, I was 40, is the way I eat, the way I make decisions, the way I perceive the world was these pathways had been built from when I'm young, right? So they're sitting in the brain, and every time I re-trigger them, they strengthen, and these pathways strengthen. And that's the whole job of the brain and the neurons and the neural pathways. And then what we're doing and wanting for people is when you start changing these old pathways do never disappear. You cannot cleanse them out. You cannot get rid of them. They slowly start to die down. And this is while effort comes and brain structure changes, as neural pathways start to build all new ones. So the meditation and the choosing good food and the choosing good people there is a state of battle going on, because there is a tendency, and we're triggered often to light up old pathways, right? So, I'm raw now for almost 5 years, Tony's 6 years. So these new neural pathways are stronger, and the old ones, which aren't used anymore, they don't disconnect, they just die down. Like think electrical circuits, it's quite dull now. And the new ones they've weakened. But just say that these strong pathways, and I was talking earlier, I might be like, I'll have a handful of nuts, which is much denser. I've eaten very light. It kind of starts trickling and lighting up that old pathway. You start getting stressed. In that old pathway is a stress habit, which is to keep going. You start strengthening and lighting up old pathways. And the whole key here is to keep your strong new pathways strong and solidified. And because the old ones are always going to be there. Now they do over time, like 10, 20 years, they're quite dull and very hard to light up, but still they're still there, and we still can go back to our old tendencies. So we have to stay together as a community. And I think like retreats are such a great way, because you are around people, and people are really we love the shape of people, the design of people. We're very attracted to people, like social beings. So when you're in a social situation, we're going to feel community. We're going to feel safe. We're going to slow down. We're going to really dive in and strengthen those pathways. See, I knew my university degree would pay off.
Yeah.
I'm studying psychology. So it's so fun. I'll be like, it all comes back to me in the right moments, right? But getting back to this can be, and this is very important, is the more you do more things, the more you will strengthen and stay away from the old things. So just say you choose one thing, which is raw food. It's harder to build these new pathways. When you choose raw food and meditation, it's getting a little easier. Raw food, meditation, and a retreat, it's getting stronger. So we are here to help you build those strong pathways. And then you're less likely to go off the more you've included. And this is why doctors as well prefer multidisciplinary healing, and healers do, is you don't ever just look at a patient and be like, or let's say natural healing here is be like, oh, I'll just fix this one thing. You've got to get, good food, good air, good people. The more you change, the better you will do, and you will stay in that. Also, I was talking about this, I don't know if this podcast or it was last week, if one of those things disappears, you've still got your own network that you won't fall. And that's what we're trying to build with you guys, for you guys, that it's not as simple as just the raw food, because all those old patterns you will just default back to. And before you know it, you'll be that client who's like, I don't know how I got to drinking wine again. And it's like, it's very easy to see how it happens. So
yeah, I think that's key. There's a multifaceted, it's very, you want supportive rituals that will help. And the community is massive, because that really reminds you regularly, because when you're going out into that world, sad as it is, we're bombarded. They have won the marketing for unhealthy crap. Absolutely. It dominates everything. We know, we go out, look at the restaurants, it's all full of animal flesh everywhere, disease everywhere. So what's this?
That's just someone I've banned. Don't worry.
All right.
I'm moderating here.
So it's interesting to see even just that, just the lifestyle we're living it's so alien to many people, because it's been pushed away. Look at how censoring is happening. They're so clever, because this natural foods, this natural way of being, because we've got discernment, we can see through the crap, basically. We're not easy manipulated. They don't want people woken up. They want you to stay in this low vibration sedation, so it's a real good way to really take your power back, to actually start seeing I always remember my dad, bless his soul, he's like, I don't want to read labels and go into all that, it's too much because it's overwhelming. But we have to have this understanding or awareness what they're putting in our food, what they're doing, because it's everywhere. When you start going down the path, you don't have to start with it all, but you can start looking at how we've been infiltrated massively. So don't think about when you go out there, it's hard, it's so much. Think about, okay, I'm aware of this, so it's my choice now in how I'm going to absorb that. And that is where the power of slowing down makes you start, or helps you start to think about, it's just back to the critical thinking. Start challenging what we're being, even challenge with because it's something, when you slow down, you start to feel it in your body, in your soul. And because we're so far, I do feel most of us were so disconnected to the body and to the mind. We just go on, like I said, autopilot, because the world is set up for us to constantly be on this hamster wheel. Look at the tax system, look at the food pressures, look at the income, just the incomes. It's I can see it. But if you can start to let go of unhealthy, just step by step, like, just for instance, I gave up drinking 16 years ago. So I wanted to still go out. I still wanted to go dancing, but I had 4 jobs at the time. And I was like, instead of going out, and why was I going out anyways? Because I just wanted to just disappear and drink. And that was my mindset. But also because I wanted my work was so stressful. I ended up, no, I want to stay in. I want to rest. I want to read, or I want to just relax. And that's when I started to think about things, and challenge things, and start thinking about, why am I stressed? Do I need all this? And I started looking at areas of my life where I was not fulfilled. And because I had a massive food addiction, I was a severe binge eater. And then I over-exercised. People that knew me could see what I used to eat. It was excessive. I look back now, I'm a totally different soul, totally different identity. I don't resonate with that anymore, but I would excessively train 2 or 3 hours a day, but overeat, because obviously I was burning a lot of calories, but also at the same time, I was miserable. I hated my life. When I slowed down and started to think, how can I actually went into minimal living. I was really keen on the minimal lifestyle because I was sick of working and having money own me, because I was never getting any further. I was like bringing in money, but then it would go on my binge eating, my nights out. So all this just started to become into my consciousness that I was in. Like for years, I didn't understand it. All my 20s, I was just in the rat race. I just felt like I needed more money. I needed to get more stuff. I needed more food. I wanted those experiences of going out and being social. But then I realized I don't need as much. I let go of buying, shopping constantly. I used to buy an outfit every week. I used to get, I haven't colored my hair in over maybe 10, 15 years, but I used to get all my hair colored. And I used to do so much for like my aesthetics and like, I didn't wear a lot of makeup, but I was always about clothes. Every weekend was buying a new outfit for the night out. That was my main thing that I loved doing. Painting my nails. I don't even paint my nails anymore. I've never worn foundation, but I like my eye makeup. And lip gloss, and that's it. But nothing wrong with that. But what I'm sharing is, are you in this trap of constant, like, I have to do? So what you realize is when you let go and strip stuff away, you start to see, I don't need it. I don't need much, and I started to realize England didn't serve me. The cold climate didn't serve me. I was miserable because I was freezing all the time, lived in my pajamas, stopped going out. And then I was like, okay, what else is next? What does my soul need? It needs warmth. I wanted to be less clothes and serve in some way. And then I realized I had this call for the dog. Anyways, it led on. Many of you know some of my story, how I got to Thailand. But without that awareness and slowing it down, wouldn't have brought me here and brought me to the lifestyle I have now. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah, because nothing feeds the way the society is more than our fears and the way our brain has learned essentially to survive. So when you, like, as you set up these neural pathways for like work, and you're a mother and you're driving your kids around and you're up early and you're doing all these things and you're like really wound up and you've built these neural pathways, they're so low. The only way we know to feel good or to decompress is to go to a nightclub with bright lights, extremely stimulating preservatives and alcohol for hours, move, be confronted by a whole lot of situations which basically are just stopping us feeling how bad our life is. And if we all stop doing that, these corporations or whatever would stop doing that. But because we need it, we keep feeding it. The brain is like feeding this consciousness, which is quite low. And so when somebody steps away from that, and you see the whole way that everything's working, and that every time you got stressed, you're basically sabotaging yourself more. Like your coping mechanism was to eat a lot because you'd be stimulated and you're not thinking about your life, into then you feel so bad about what you just did, you're using the same coping mechanism with something excessive. And most of us are in that excessive, and then you feel bad, you excessively shop, you excessively, hang on a second, you excessively do things which don't serve you. And the thing about this lifestyle is that we want to support you while you find yourself, because you have to step away from what every other person is doing.
Yeah.
Like every other person is doing something which we've grown up to think is normal. Like you look on social media and they're like all these glamorous people on, I don't know, cruise ships or airplanes drinking expensive champagne. But how stressed is the person behind that image? Like to get into that, and is that person even living that life? Like, you know what I mean? We, perpetuate it in our own head. So we're like saying that it's one thing to know to step away. Okay.
Yeah.
But how can you feel supported when you go on this journey? And I do think that doing things, like, it's different for each person, right? But I think at a retreat, you get given a smorgasbord of options. And the more you can do, the more supported you're going to feel. So whether that's quiet time, book time, walking, a workshop, a early morning swim, eating raw food, learning about raw foods, all these different things. The more you have of like safe places that you can go and feel, I think in this world, the better you're going to feel. I know
And
that's the better I feel.
absolutely. And this is an investment in yourself. Like there's
Oh, for
many
sure.
times I felt I can't afford that, but then I'll be happy to go spend so much money on alcohol and my binges were so expensive, and then I had an expensive gym membership and all that because it was just a vicious cycle of eat that to numb that, but then I had no money, but then I go shopping and spend, and I see it with a lot of people. Like they work so hard all week to then blow a lot on drugs, alcohol, food. That's the way we celebrate. Again, another conditioning celebrate. I'm not saying we don't celebrate with food, but why do we do it at a cost to our health, to our mental health, to our soul? So it's really this time, and what it might look different for you. For me, slowing down showed me how little I actually need, and even with food, how much little I needed, and the nourishment, the of the rubbish, the crap that I was eating actually was harming me, doing more harm, not just physically but mentally. Really lowering and making me feel crap and dull and struggling and tired. So it's a start where we can start. That's how I just start, is just that awareness, and just that's why the slowing down is just looking at what can we really strip away to what we truly deeply need, desire. And it might change over time. What you feel you need now is different maybe in the future. It's everybody is on a different having a different experience. But I do feel when you start investing in your health, your mind, by going to retreats, going to events around like-minded, who you feel are in alignment and the same sort of thinking, and it feels in resonance, go for that. That's where your energy is worth putting in. And until you start shredding, dropping things, and really be present, you won't notice this, and you'll be just on this constant wheel.
Yeah, I think also, I always think like investing in yourself, it isn't just like hocus pocus here. Like when you invest in yourself, the more work I do on myself, the better I get at my job, the better I get at my health, the better I get with my friends, the better I get in decisions I make, the clearer I get. It's a very different reality. And that's the mindset that changes, because you're actually like, I think where I was before, if the idea of a retreat came up, I'd be like, oh, I can't afford that. But what I'm really saying is I don't see enough dopamine there instantly to go and choose that as an option. I'd rather, might be drinking, or it might be dancing, it might be binge eating, it might be, clothes. But what you're not seeing, and that's what happens with anything when you invest in yourself, when you start seeing things as the long-term gains as opposed to the quick gains, you're on a soul healing journey. Because the whole thing is, we think of aging as like, that's the end, that's it, everything's downhill. But the more you work on yourself, I'm like the best version of myself I could possibly be. Like, and that just keeps getting better.
Getting better.
I look over the last 4 years, and 4 years ago, I look healthy. And 5 years, almost 5 years, but like, let's even say a year into raw foods, I look even healthier now. And that isn't just raw foods, that's nature, that's grounding, that is going away, being like walking around beaches in places like Bali, like we're going to do in Thailand, being around tropical fruits, meeting different raw foodists, surrounding myself, doing podcasts, becoming a health coach. All of that has made me who I am. But that's the thing, is when you do this, you need to get into that mindset of, and the reason you want to slow down and heal is so you in 2 years is a better version than you are now.
Yeah, truly. And another thing as well is, like, when you start, because just to give you a little story, because I think stories really help us along this path. I always wanted to give back and contribute. But back many years ago, I didn't have the money and I didn't even have the time. So I was working a lot, but I didn't have no money because I'd spend on my addictions. And then it just, like, when I started to do that, I started to have more time because I wasn't spending. So I didn't need all the jobs that I thought I needed. And I was doing things just because you just did them. You know, you work. You see your parents just constantly work, but never really saw the benefits of the work, the hard work. You know, you just see the addictions. So when I stopped the addictions and I had more time, I ended up volunteering a lot for dog rescues. And that's how I came about what I have now, the organization I have now in Thailand, because that was, I never thought this was even possible, because people say, I wish I could do that if I had the time, or I wish I could do I'm not saying it's not a genuine excuse or, you know, reasoning, but I do feel when you cut things, you start to do things that really are for the soul. Like, no, it's not for everyone what I do, but I do have the capacity to give more. Like, I manage my business and I manage my dog work, which I help dogs in Thailand, in Phuket. I pull dogs from the government dog pound. I just found a new sick rescue. I was able to take her in and rehabilitate and organize. I have a good team structure, and, you know, and this was all just an idea. I never thought it was even possible at that where I was before, because I couldn't even have time to even think, was that even possible? But over the years, for slowing down, reconnecting to what my heart truly desires, it's not the money. The money is obviously a great tool. You don't need all the money, because I had nothing. When I came to Thailand with £2,000 in my account, helping the dogs, and that even amplified when I lost my 2 dogs that I brought over from Thailand, from England to Thailand. I was like, oh my God, I need to help more, because I went into this low. I just wanted to fill up, and I just started to just go, what do I really enjoy? I mean, I had to work, but very minimal. I was just doing some teaching online, and I had a few coaching clients. But I went to the government dog pound and fully invested in that, and changed a lot there in a way that wow, what you're capable of doing when you follow your heart, and it was just, for me, that I find true happiness, because we see happiness everywhere. They say it's in alcohol, they say it's in parties, they say it's in whatever, the junk food, happiness. But really, is that a long sustaining happiness? I don't believe we have happiness in those fleeting addictions. I really don't. True deep happiness is when we're contributing, or we feel safe in these feelings. So I really started to connect with what my heart really truly desires. It's not the money. I was always in poverty and survival. Money was always my goal. But when I really slowed down and reconnected, started choosing light foods, healthier foods, looking after my body, it was a byproduct to then help others. So I do feel you want to help yourself and nourish yourself, but I do feel that deep fulfillment comes through contribution. And the why, my friend does an amazing program called Find Your Why, and I did it recently to check in to see if this is still my why. And I've been living my why for so long now, because I thought maybe I need to shift, but I maybe have a few little of a whys, but these are 2 passions of mine: is health, helping people with their health and their happiness, you know, wanting to feel good in their bodies and in their lives, but also the animals, you know, supporting. And that's what brought me to Thailand, and I'm doing. So when I fall off sometimes, when I'm a little sad or I get frustrated, I just reconnect to my why. And that's through, because I slowed down and I gave my time an hour each day. I did it for 21 days to really spend on what is my why am I here. You know, my friend Abhinav, who runs the course, he says there's 2 questions. I can't remember who originally stated it. It'll come to me. But he says is why you were born and why you are here. And I love that. I'm like, yeah, why am I here? What is my real mission? It doesn't have to be anything grandiose. It doesn't have to be, it could simply be like my friend, he just wants to share love and happiness with every person he meets every day. Instead of being, this is his why. He just gets up and he does his normal things. He's getting on with it, whatever. But every time he meets someone, he always says, have a good day, or like, a good day, and he says, have the most magical, beautiful day, and he'll say a compliment, and I'm like, that's inspired me. I'm like now saying to people, not just how they look, but I'll say, I love the way you shared that. I love the way you said that. I love your heart, So that makes me feel, spread the happiness, and I love watching those clips of people sharing when they're driving the car, and they pull over and they say, my goodness, you look glowing today.
Oh, I love those too. You look beautiful, Queen. And look
and
at
like,
you.
You're rocking it, girl. You're. Oh, I think, wow, more happiness spread. And
we've mistaken feeling happy with love, right? I do eat raw food because I love it. I'm a health coach because I love it. I'm doing this retreat because I love it. To be honest, most of the things that I used to do was because it felt good. Like do you know what I mean? Like the choices I used to make, whether it was, whether it was drinking or whether it was even, I guess, some of my surgeries, it's not the long-term love. It's just that it's going to feel good for a period of time to stop my suffering. And that has been mistaken as some holy grail, where the holy grail is first to find you. And then we spoke about this in another podcast, where you find your love compass. Where does that love then pull you once you find that self-love? Because first off, before you make the decision, what you want to do is start finding you, because the more you find you, and this is working on you, and things like retreats is working on you, because then you start to make decisions in love. Like that's what you want, a life of love. I feel like we're supposed to come here to follow love, but a lot of souls are coming here to find love, self-love, right? A lot of just the planet is just very dense. And I think and what I was about to say is what I notice about the times where there's all the things you spoke about, like the shopping and the addictions and all these sort of things, is if you look at photos of me back then, is even in my happiest times, is the smile on my face doesn't even match the smile I wear every single day. Even this is my job, right? Even to work, the smile I have is so big. And I think that's so telling. And like everyone always says, your eyes are so bright. And it's like, I'm so engaged and so excited. And that was not there when I was happy. They're just like dopamine raisers. They're not actually, I wasn't actually in love.
It's fake happiness, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fleeting. It's fleeting. It's not lasting.
Yeah. So let me bring someone out. Looks like there's some normal comments up there. Hopefully the top ones have gone. Ignore those. Renata said hello. And then I think it's Jamia has said Thailand has a lot of attractive waterfalls. Is this true?
Yeah, there's some beautiful ones here. Yeah. There's the closest one in Rawai is there's one in Karen or Kata, maybe half in the middle, but the more north of Phuket, where I used to live, some beautiful ones. Yeah, Bampe waterfalls. Yeah, I'll see if we can get see where the closest ones are for us, and see if we could get that on on for the retreat.
Okay, and it looks like Badger has said hello. Hey, everybody joining. And what can make sure you ask any questions? Yeah, I saw Renata. Ignore the ones above that.
Yeah, you're gonna get some spammers.
There's always find some self-love. We've triggered something there.
Yeah, I
love
it.
My friend Miranda. She always says she's really she's raw vegan, or she's high raw. She loves her fruit. She lives for like smoothies and juices and fruits. And she's like, all these people she has a big following over on Miranda Eve over on Instagram. And she gets a lot of comments, like a lot of people slamming her, putting her down. She goes, it's just part of the detox process. She goes, I've eaten so much fruit, I'm detoxing people around me. And I love that. It's like I come into the world as this little detox like bubble, and everyone's like, you're doing it wrong. You need protein. And she's like, I'm just detoxing them.
Yeah, that's a good. This is what I love about you. And like a lot of things it's very real. Like I say, what you see is what you get. You really look at how, like I said, we can have a focus on what's not working or what is darkness, or we can look at what is good for us, what is serving us. So it was like that, when just living the little things, when you start having that mindset, you start thinking about what you can, instead of what you can't have food wise, it's what you can have. It's like, okay, so I don't like doing this job, whatever, so what can I have? It's solution. It's more of what, okay, so where is this leading me to? These are all clues in our life of where, it's like Steve Jobs says about connecting the dots. We're all connecting the dots. Is it something, no matter where you're going to go, you're going to get resistance, conflict. There's conflicts in everything. But does it feel good for you and right for you? And I just follow the bliss. I just follow those breadcrumbs on my path. And you can be inspired by others, but this is where when you have the slowness in your life. And I said, when I say slowness, some people, and I said this before the call, it doesn't mean doing nothing. And sometimes it can mean that, and it's good to do nothing. And I think it's going to massively catapult everything and put everything in alignment, because many of us are on, like I said, autopilot. We're doing things out of just habit because of what everyone else is doing, society. And I do like now that we go the opposite way of, I always look at whatever, like when I'm on a hike, if everyone's going down that same road, I kind of go the opposite. I'm like, I'll go the other way and go. And it's not being, what's the word? Trying to be, what's the word? Not conflicting, but I just want to.
Like, you're not trying to be like a rebel or cause trouble. You're actually that's your heart calling you.
Yeah. And it's just become so, okay, so if somebody's doubting something, I'm going to explore it. I'm going to try it. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. But it's got to come from the heart. So that's my compass. I always check in. I check in with my body. I check in with my heart. Is it in resonance? And that's how I move through life. And that's the way we can all be guided if we really reconnect to that. And I do only feel we can connect to that when we actually bring presence in our lives every single day. And that could just mean when you're in the car and you're on your own, just breathing, the breath, just listening. It doesn't have to be, I do know all of us, we're not constantly doing stuff. That's just the brain manipulating us to do more, do. No, we can actually just be still when we're sat down, or when if people are making creations in the kitchen, that's a moment of presence, just being slower. It doesn't mean just sitting. I do feel stillness is massive game changer, but we can still do a lot of this slowing down in the moments in our life, in everything we do. More presence is going to give you so much clarity, so much love, and that connection to the heart space. Everything else will just become okay. When you're feeling down and lost, just honor it. It's just part of my process, part of detoxing. And when you get the resistance, you're like, yeah, okay, that's okay. It's good to let that come in. But now though, I do feel I don't see much. It's nice to be. Some people would argue, say it's naive, but I don't see a lot. Like you become in your little bubble, and I like that, because this is what happens when you start matching of that same frequency. Naturally, you will get others coming in with the same frequency, and it becomes your own. It's just the way it is. It's only until I go to gatherings. So just to give you an example, I'm so in this raw lifestyle, I forget until I go to a gathering that, I think we've shared this before. I'm like, people are saying, you're raw vegan. What do you eat? And I'm like, I ain't been asked that for a long time, because I'm in the raw living group, work community. I'm like, oh my God, I just see abundance everywhere. I don't see the restrictions of it. So it's a world. And my friend talked about how different algorithms on the Facebook, everyone's Facebook algorithm is totally different, and what you see and absorb. So when you go into, say, a friend, like I've got a friend who's into the conspiracy, he just sees doom and gloom, the world's destructive, it's a mess, it's parasitic. Yes, there's a lot of truth to that in some ways. Come on to mine's all like positive, how raw foods can support you, and it's the support of the dogs, everyone's helping each other. Not always. I do see, I'm not saying it completely. I still want to know the truth, and I sprinkle that in ways. But what we choose to put our energy will multiply. It's that law. It's a given. These are laws of the universe. So I am conscious and careful of what I absorb, what I put in my body, what I put out to the world, who I share my time with and energy with. And this is why we want to bring in the retreat, because you're with people that feel that as well, that like-minded souls. So it just becomes, everything else becomes a natural. It'll become like your algorithm in your Facebook. It'll be all rosy and good and positive and unicorns.
It's so important. What you just said is like absolute key. You can literally spend your whole life hopping from negative stone to negative stone to negative stone, watch negativity, right? Or you can have your feed, which is happiness, puppies, like rescue dogs, great food, and just say you've watched that. Just say you come away from that screen and you take that lens and you look out into the world. If you've been watching conspiracy theories, the dodgy guy that walks past that kind of looks scary is going to become a hyper focus. Your brain's going to go down a thing. Where's he going? Do I know him? Oh my God. Or you're going to see butterflies. I'm going to say unicorns, but butterflies, beautiful food, maybe a dog that you can help, which just grows your soul. And it's so powerful, the choice you make every day to what you see, because we were just talking before about how there is every situation there is positive and negative. And I get asked a lot. I was like, Skye, you're so positive. And I actually noticed that, because they're like, where did it come from? They're like, were you always like that? And I said, no matter how, I could be dying and I still was pretty positive. And I think it comes from I think it comes from my mum, because she still does it to this day. No matter what's going on, she'll try and help, and then she'll go, but you've got this, you've got your food, you've got your, like, and I think it's come from that. Is no matter how bad things are, like, she will then go, even when I think I've, like, been in hospital beds and stuff, and she'll go, well, I've got you this and I've got you that, and your window's open. And I think I didn't know it until I got asked it a lot. And I was like, where? And so those positivities impacted me a lot. Now, I'm not saying everybody was like gifted that throughout their life, but
I wasn't. Always doom and
gloom. But like I think what I'm saying is we can choose, because even with all that positivity, I had a pretty rough life, right? So it's like, it's truly about those choices that we see every day. So
it's not downplaying what we're going through. I really feel like taking away, because there is a lot of hardship and struggles and challenges, and I think we need to honor it, and also get angry about it. I feel those are human, natural emotions, but how long do we continue to do that? Because we know that it's long term. It's going to create stress in the body. We're going to choose bad habits. Addictions are going to surface. So I am, and I still have to do the work. I'm not a natural, because sadly, my upbringing was always poor me, always a victim. So I'm conscious of that. It comes up, it surfaces at times. I'm like, okay, what can we be grateful for? Acknowledge that is not my belief sometimes, or something that was a trauma that felt it hurt, but I release it, because I don't want to keep holding on to it. I want to see the world, or my just going out. Like when I'm overwhelmed and stressed, I'm like, I pause and I just look outside, and I can focus on something that is natural for me. Natural, like you say, the nature really reconnects me. So I'm careful where I go and share. If I'm feeling off or I'm feeling negative, I don't go on certain platforms or speak to certain individuals that will amplify that. So that consciousness, that awareness brings me to, okay, who will hold space for me? Maybe I sometimes just need space. Or who will give me some positive advice when I'm not feeling it? Because I don't think we're all immune to being negative. I think it's there. It's especially depending on, for me, I didn't have that. Sadly, I didn't have the family to show me about. It was like, you should, poor me on a lot of things. And I was like, okay, I didn't know any better until I started meeting Americans and Canadians I love. I remember it was my first experience meeting Americans when I went over to Australia, because that was my first big backpacking trip. I was like, you guys are so positive. Like, English are so cynical and so generally like questioning, why are you so happy? There's nothing to be happy about. You know, I call them Eeyores, like from Winnie the Pooh, like, oh, life's rubbish, or like, there's always something to complain about. Honestly, like, I have to check myself regularly because I complain, and I still do. And it's not when I met like Americans, I'm like, you're like, and then some people would say, oh, they're too happy. I'm like, what? I love that.
Oh.
I like their energy, and I wanted to, when I experienced that, I was like, well, this feels good. I want to feel happy, and looking at the positives to the hardships or challenges. I met a great friend. He's actually English, but he's not been in England for 25 years. And he's the same. He's going through some really tough things with his health, like, and some stuff with Thailand, some heavy, dark, expensive, long drawn out challenges. But he's like, but you know what? I'm here. I'm coming to the beach in the morning with my dog. We'll overcome it. You know, I go back and I have to sort stuff out. But right now here at the beach, everything's good. And I'm like, oh, such a breath of fresh air. I love his attitude. He's got a really nice, I said, as long as you're acknowledging that it's not, which he is, he's like, he had a moment of frustration, but it was like, but then at the end of the day, he was sharing, like, he'd been to some camps in Uganda and many other, low income communities, and they had nothing. They literally didn't even have a pen to write, no schools, nothing. He was helped building huts. And this still, in the world, this is the reality. People don't even have a home, don't even have clean running water, So he just says, even though I can complain and know things are expensive or things are happening, at the end of the day, and his health, even his health is not great. He's like, but I can still walk. He finds things. I'm here. I'm at the beach, and I was just like, it's the way I want to live my life as much as I can, to enjoy it and not keep focusing on what isn't working.
But I think there's something else you mentioned there, and it's not about like being like, or even delusional. It's very normal when trauma happens to be angry, mad, sad, vent. Okay. But if 2 years later you're still in the past complaining about it, that's the problem. Like, of course, if there's a death or something happens, or there's a trauma or an illness, the immediate reaction, release it, find your way to work through it, don't ignore it. But then you want to, by at least the next week that you've started, it's not as
heavy,
loud. Like, if it is, you're really sitting into that trauma moment, which happens as we age. You notice kids more so today, they do, but less likely sit in the past. They keep moving forward. And that's what we want to do. See the positive, what we can learn from things. And we want to learn to slow down. And we want you guys to come on the retreat, enjoy yourself. And there is still $500 off, only for a few more hours. Is that right?
Yes, we'll do it because of time differences. We're going to just do today, and then it's going to complete. So jump in now, get it booked, get it done. Soothe that soul with an investment for yourself. I think it's an amazing opportunity. So if you've got any questions about it, ask us. This is our 7th call now on the retreat, and other ideas of how to live an abundant, beautiful, nourishing life. But the retreat is definitely going to catapult a new way of living and thinking and just being around great souls. I'd like to call us very conscious souls that are doing our best. We're not perfect. I don't strive for perfection, but I do strive for being kinder, loving to myself and to others. I think I think if we can master that, then we're going to be, I think just life is going to be even more special.
I agree. Okay, guys, We will see you next week. Make sure you get the link, check the link, and go across and book. Bye, guys.
Bye.